You know the Kwacha exchange rate against the dollar. You know who is going to win this year's elections. You know what the president said yesterday. You know the price of fuel, the cost of meal, the latest economic forecast. You're tracking everything, except the one thing that actually determines your future, yourself. Let's be honest about where your attention goes. The news, every morning. What happened overnight? What's the government doing now? The economy. Kwacha strengthening, weakening. What does it mean for prices? Elections. Who's winning? Who's losing? What will change if this party gets in? Work politics. Who got promoted? Who's getting fired? What's the boss thinking? Social media. Who bought what? Who's doing what? Who's winning at life? I'm not saying you shouldn't know these things. Current affairs matter. Economic trends affect you. Workplace dynamics are real. But here's the question. How much time do you spend tracking all of that compared to how much time you spend tracking yourself? When last did you sit down and ask, what's actually working in my life? What's not? Where does my money actually go every month? Which habits am I building? Which ones am I ignoring? What drains my energy? What gives me life? You can quote the exchange rate, but you can't tell where your own salary disappeared to last month. You know who's going to win the elections this year. But you don't know why you keep making the same financial mistakes every year. We follow politics obsessively, but we barely pay attention to the patterns in our own lives. I saw something at work that changed how I think about this. We were in an annual planning meeting, marketing team presenting, screen full of charts, numbers, analytics, where customers came from, which campaigns worked, which content got engagement, which strategies failed, clear patterns, right there in the data, and I watched my colleagues lean forward, taking notes, asking questions, making decisions based on what the numbers showed, not guessing, not hoping, not assuming, looking at the data, then deciding, launch this product, enter that market, double down here, cut losses there, and it worked. Because businesses that use their data grow, businesses that ignore their data struggle. Then I drove home and realized something uncomfortable. We track our work or businesses obsessively, but we barely pay attention to ourselves. We demand data for a marketing campaign, but we make life-changing financial decisions based on how we feel in the moment. We analyze customer behavior down to the minute, but we can't tell why we keep abandoning our own goals every February. The company knows exactly which strategies work and which don't, but we keep repeating the same patterns in our personal lives and wondering why nothing changes. Here's what clicked for me. If data is vital for business decisions, why am I making the most important decisions in my life without any data at all? Here's the truth. You're generating data every single day about yourself. What drains you? What energizes you? When you're productive? When you're just pretending? Which relationships add to your life? Which ones quietly take from you? Where your money actually goes? Not where you think it should go, where it actually disappears. What makes you quit? What keeps you going? All of this is data, not complicated, not requiring fancy apps, just patterns, waiting to be noticed. But most of us never look at it. We just react. Day after day, same decisions, same results, and we blame the economy, the government, the workplace, the circumstances, when really we're just ignoring our own data. Let me give you an example. Someone keeps saying they want to save money. This year I'll be disciplined. Month after month, nothing changes. Then they actually look at the pattern. On most evenings, after a long day at work, exhausted, they stop at the mall on the way home, not for planned groceries but to get takeaway. Let me just do it today, I'm tired, but it ends up being most days of the month. Without fail, that's the data. Not a discipline problem, a pattern problem. So instead of continuing to say, I need more willpower, they adjust. They avoid passing through the mall after work and eat a home-cooked meal. Small shift, based on reality, not motivation. And it works. Not because the economy changed, not because the government did something, but because they paid attention to their own data. If this is making you question what you're really working toward, there's a related video linked in the description below. It helps clarify what actually matters before you try to measure progress. But for now, let's focus on how to track it. There's a saying, what gets measured gets done. Businesses live by this. Track sales. Sales improve. Track customer satisfaction. Service improves. Track employee performance. Productivity improves. Not because tracking is magic, but because paying attention changes behavior. When you're aware, you adjust. So here's the question. What are you measuring in your own life? Not what you should measure, what you actually are. Because I'll bet you're tracking the Kwacha exchange rate, but not where your Kwacha actually went last month. We debate election results months in advance, yet ignore the results of our daily choices, the economy's performance, but not your own financial patterns. And here's what happens when you flip that. When you start paying attention to yourself with the same intensity you pay attention to the news. Example. 1. Energy patterns. Track for 1 week. What leaves you feeling alive? What drains you? Not what should energize you, what actually does. You might discover certain people drain you. Not bad people, just not your people. Certain times of day you're sharp. Other times you're just going through motions. Certain activities fill you up. Others empty you out. That's data. And once you see it, you can design your life around it. Example 2. Money patterns. Track for 1 month. Where does the money actually go? Not the big expenses, those you know about, the invisible ones, the just this once purchases, the emotional spending. You might discover stress makes you buy things you don't need. Comparison makes you spend money you don't have. Convenience costs you more than you realized. That's data. And once you see it, you can interrupt the pattern. Example 3. Productivity patterns. Track for 1 week. When do you actually do your best work? Not when you plan to. When you actually do, you might discover mornings you're clear, afternoons you're foggy, alone you focus, in groups you distract, deadlines push you, open-ended tasks paralyze you. That's data. And once you see it, you can structure your life around when you work best, not when you wish you worked best. I know what you're thinking. That sounds nice, but my life is barely holding together. I don't have time to track patterns. Or maybe I've tried tracking things before. Budgets, goals, plans, they never work. I always fail. I hear you. And I'm not asking you to overhaul everything. I'm asking you to pay attention. Just pay attention. Not to fix everything at once. Just to see what's actually happening. Because here's the thing. When you're in survival mode, it's easy to think, the problem is external. If only the economy improved. If only I got a raise. If only circumstances changed. And yes, external things matter. But the patterns inside your control, those matter more. Because you can't control the economy. But you can control whether you stop at the shop on Friday evening. You can't control election results. But you can control where you put your attention and energy. You can't control the company's decisions, but you can control your response to them. And those small controls, those daily choices, those tiny adjustments, over time, they compound. Not overnight, not dramatically, but year by year they build a life that's different. Not because the world changed, but because you did. You don't have to track everything, just pick one thing. One pattern you've been ignoring. Maybe it's money. Where does it actually go? Maybe it's energy. What drains you? What fills you? Maybe it's time. Where does it disappear to? Maybe it's relationships. Who adds to you? Who takes? Pick one, just one. And for the next week, pay attention. Not to judge yourself, not to feel guilty, just to see, notice the pattern, write it down if it helps, or just be aware. And then next week, make one small adjustment, not a complete life overhaul. One shift, based on what you saw. That's how this works. Not through motivation, through awareness, not through willpower, through data, not through hoping things change, through changing the things you can. So here's your challenge this week. Pick one area, track one pattern, not to perform for anyone, not to post about it, just for you. Because you're not finished, but you can start. You're not broken, but you can adjust. You're not behind, but you can begin paying attention, right now, today. Strike while the iron is hot. Kwacha, it has dawned. And now you see, the data you need isn't in the news, it's in your life. If this is making you rethink where you're putting your attention, subscribe, because we've been building a framework, timelines, limits, overload, definition, and now the data that actually matters. Your data. Next week, we go even deeper. Until then, pay attention to yourself with the same intensity you pay attention to everything else. You might be surprised what you discover.